Burnout, bow, 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 bow. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you, and thank you for checking out the live chat. Hope everybody's doing well there, and appreciate everybody stopping by, man. I've been trying to, people are always like, you got to do live more. You got to, I do live radio 4 hours a day, but, with the YouTube community, just kind of getting to go back and forth with you guys. I have wanted to try and commit and be more on top of it. I've been very bad because I always say, I'm going to do it. Did it last week on the trade deadline day after just doing some regular React videos. And I'm just like, you know what? Let's do a live. Let's throw it live on the YouTube and Twitch and let's riff, dude. Let's get after it. Let's have some fun here on a Thursday night before we go into All-Star break. We'll kick it back and forth for probably the next hour or so. We'll see how much fun we're having. And that's it, man. But it was a time. I watched some Olympics today. I checked out Team USA kicking ass today. I felt bad for Uvis Balinskis. And that was tough. That was tough for our guy Uvis. The Kachucks, though, they looked really good. The Miami Heat, they're going off to rising stars. I will throw some chili pepper action on Keyshawn Johnson and Norman Powell. I still don't understand the all-star format. I'm a little bit miffed. I saw the breaking news today that Norman has been moved to the world team, and I was like, what? Because Giannis is out, they had to put De'Aaron Fox on there, but then they needed another world person. So they're like, Norm, you played for Team Jamaica. You're on the world team now. And he's probably just like, cool, I guess that's how it's going to go. So I saw the videos, too, of Khalil Ware going out for the Rising Stars game. So it is cool. I like these weekends where the Heat fan can kind of get in there and go in and do get a little something on something, everything, So that's that. See my boy RVA Richie there. What's going on, dude? I see it's a check for Norm Al Macco. Drop it in. Appreciate you. No need to Tranks Davey. Thanks for stopping by. Matang, appreciate you, dude. Steven, thanks, man. So yeah, anyway, live chat will go like this, man. Just throw your questions or comments into the chat. And you guys can riff on whatever. It can be Heat, can be Finns, can be fighting, can be shenanigans, can be media, can be whatever's going on in your little heart. I don't really care. This is the floor is open to you guys. And it could be about the show. It could be about Leroy not talking into the microphone. I don't, whatever tickles your fancy. Platinum Sword says, Tobin is live. How many drinks are we? I'm not in any drinks. All I have is stole my water bottle, my daughter's water bottle because, I lost mine. So I'm just staying hydrated, champ. There's nothing there as far as that's concerned. There's no liquor flowing tonight. There's nothing to be sad about. I mean, like the Heat won last night. It was a win. I'll take it. Any type of win, I'll take. There's so much talk these days about like, has the NBA broken? Look, I'm tuning in every night. I'm not happy with where the team is at. I want them to be a lot better. It's not good enough, but I'm going to tune in whether they're, great, mediocre, suck. I like watching basketball. Even with its flaws, I still enjoy it. Same thing applies for a lot of things. So I'm not going to be just, I'm not going to just be rats off a ship just because there's been some hard times. I just, I would like it to be better. So that would be something that I feel like it would check it out. And Kay says, yeah, because it's your job. Even if it wasn't, though. Like, Kay, I could literally go there. I could riff for 4 hours. Nobody mandates me to talk about it. I could talk about whatever I want. I do enjoy it. I definitely don't have to go down to the arena and check these things out. I go down there because I want to. That's what I like. Let's see. Justin, did you hit your parlay? I did not, D-Sizzle. No parlay today. I did not hit it. Armando asks, are you rats off a ship on Jovic for the year? Rats off a ship is tough. I wouldn't say I'm rats off a ship on him. I really like Nikola Jovic. I'm surprised how bad this season has been. Clearly, I was watching Eurobasket over the summer. I thought he was going to be impressive, but yeah, that's been rough. Poetry says you need to start charging Leroy $20 every time he eats or chews something into the microphone. I mean, that's just a fool's effort, Poetry. I appreciate the thought, but I don't even know if like the old Levitar and Fine bucket. I don't know if that's going to be able to work for that. See, Cat, what's going on, man? Appreciate you stopping in. Thank you for that. Well. Same goes to you, XX. I canceled my FanDuel Sports Network app after the Celtics game. I just feel lost. Was it just because you are just sick of the team? Is that what it is? Like you're just like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm gonna have to go pirate streams. Now, are you watching on pirate streams? That's what I want to know. Have you stuck with it, but just not paying your $20 a month? Which I listen. Wink. We don't have to talk about where. We don't have to say what link you're using. Wink. Have you really looked away, or you just it felt good? It felt good to get away. I can't wait. I will tell you candidly, I cannot wait for wherever the Heat end up home. I cannot wait for it to not be the FanDuel app. I can tell you that much. I can definitely tell you that much. Let's see. Leroy wants to know, when is Dirty Boxing? How do we tap in? The next one's going to be, I believe, in March, Leroy. I believe it's supposed to be in Nashville, but I think there's another location that's maybe in the mix, so there may be a flip-flop. They usually announce it like a month out, so I'd expect something to be announced officially next week, but that's what was kicked around, but I don't have an official date on that. Erna Aharand. Tobin, you're the man. Fan from Tucson. He fan for 20 years. My thoughts, Barry Jackson's 2023 tweet about how the Heat being content with just putting a decent team and not going all in. Yeah, I know it's infamous. They like their team, right? Like that's the infamous one from Barry. You know, Barry is very, tapped in and does a good job with finding out from, the Heat side of things, why they think the way they think. I don't think it's I don't know. I don't think it's like the Heat are content. Maybe that is though. I don't know. Content is an interesting word for that. I don't know if it's content, but I think they're definitely more risk averse. I think like that's probably the proper way to go about it. I will say this, like, look, I'm not making excuses for the Heat. They have been scarred over some weird shit over the past, basically since Chris Bosh's blood clots. Hell, you could even go back to Zoe. So like there's been some weird stuff. I don't think it's an excuse, but maybe that's like a reason as to why they are the way they are. But I don't know, and I've been very confused about why they have been so I guess timid on making like a move, even with somebody who's got a little bit of baggage, and why they're like just in this of finding the perfect thing, and so I don't know, content with being where they're at. They certainly didn't take advantage of that run and that window, and it's definitely that line right there is a pivot point. Like it's definitely one of those where like they could have gone one way, they didn't. Their rival did, and this is where they're at right now. This is where they're at. So, they have to figure that out. David says we can all agree that Jovic has to go. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, he's not been good this year, but I'm not ready to just ship him off. I'm not sending him back to Serbia or something like that. By the way, he's got a contract for the next 4 years. I don't know where he's going. Tobes, women's ice hockey gold medal. I got USA and Sweden for men's, USA, Canada. I know the women have been kicking ass. I know they just smoked Canada. I'm a little ignorant on their team. I will say watch 4 Olympic hockey games. Yeah, USA and Canada look like the most overwhelming team. Not surprising. Canada looks like an absolute behemoth, though, dude. I am interesting. Crystal saying, do you think we are better than our record? Okay. Well, Spo said that, he had this statement where he was like, he goes, I know that they say your record is what it is. What the hell is this? Let me get the exact phrasing that he had here so we could just play it and listen to the man himself. But he's like, but I feel like he wouldn't accept it. He's not in a place where he's like, I'm gonna just roll over and be like, oh yeah. But that's the case. Was it 7? That's supposed to have that. All right, I'll get this for you guys here in a second, so we can listen to the man himself. Media, music. Here we go. Got this loading on up. Got that. All right, we ready here? All right, here we go. This was what Spo said.
Everybody is looking forward to it because our guys have been really pushing through. Well, we've had guys out, and we're not making excuses about it, but we've been pushing for, it feels like, weeks. And we've had some really tough losses where we've played really well. That's the untold story about this. You are ultimately what your record is, but we feel differently about that. We're playing really good ball. We just need to, be a little bit more consistent with it. Our defense is shaping up. That's getting a whole lot more consistent. And then offensively, I think when we get our guys back, I think we're going to be a really dangerous offensive team. And we can be 4th in the league in scoring with, large parts of our rosters on the sideline. Just wait till, we get our guys back into the fold.
All right. Yeah, so there's a couple things. Like, look, I appreciate Spo. I used to really be like, all right, if Spo thinks turning the corner is happening, that used to really hold a lot of weight. And because I tell you, when he used to do this all the time, it always felt like if the Heat had a rough road trip, and he'd be like, I like a lot of the things we're seeing. You'd be like, oh man, all right, because you would be like, all right, he sees something that's like maybe the fan isn't seeing. Right now, I feel like he's doing a lot of convincing because, as he says, we're pushing through, and I think that's all you kind of can do. I don't know. I feel like that they could be in the middle of the East. I don't think they're a top East team. Even with everybody clicking, because here's the conundrum about everybody coming back. When he says everybody, is he including Tyler Hero there? And I don't mean this to be like a slight at Hero. I'm genuinely asking because Hero really hasn't felt like a part of this season. So is he thinking to himself, he mentions the scoring, and you're going to get, Tyler at his best, a 23 point a game scorer, Norm Powell, same breath, but does that work? And how are you going to go about that? Is that going to be him off the bench? Is that going to be him starting? How is that all going to mix? Because the last time when things were really clicking in the season, things were riding high, and he came back, it didn't go smoothly. I'm not saying it has to be an indictment on the season. It's just the facts of what happened. So I think they could be slightly better than they are. I've said, I think their peak is winning to get to the second round. I think they could win a first round series with the right matchup. Would it stun me if the Heat beat the Knicks? No, I don't think so. I think we've seen them. We've seen Miami play the Knicks this year. The Knicks have not looked overwhelming. Celtics, Pistons, Cavs. That's an interesting one. And I think it also depends on how much they really commit to Kalel and doing what they do. So that was an interesting one. Smooth, appreciate the super chat. He said, hurt to watch Cam Thomas go for 30 last night and see the Knicks pick on Sohan with Alvarado coming in. Wish we could add some punch. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Miami does anything with adding to the roster, right? Is it just going to be Myron Gardner gets a standard and that's the move? I mean, he's playing and I know that the Heat, wants the right type of guy I think they really like their locker room. I think that it would have to be somebody they deem. I think they really could use some size. I just don't know necessarily who the body to go out there is. And I think for Sohan, look, you're going to look at a team that's in the play-in or a team that's vying for one of the top-ish seeds, and you can make an impact, and that's going to be important for your career. So I get why the Heat aren't going to be like the most attractive option for Thomas. It's a smart move by the Bucks. Like you really have nothing to lose. You saw how Giannis was looking at him. He was all over that one. So, but you're right. They definitely could add the Heat definitely could use a little something more. Mario says having Tobin being a Heat fan worth it. Appreciate you, bro. Have I seen? Cameron's asking, have you seen the league find the Jazz and Pacers? Boy, did I. I saw that. They came out and they fined the Utah Jazz $500,000 for their behavior. And sitting Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen at the end of their game against the Heat, which of course the Heat infamously lost. Look, I think it's good to show that Adam Silver is actually making some kind of reactions to abhorrent behavior in the league, because that was crazy. I mean, like, they're finding all different ways to kind of tank now. The Jaren Jackson Jr. thing is also interesting because then they shut him down this season, basically, because he's a very good player. Like, and they have two very strong forwards. I mean, like, that's a forward duo. It's as far as just double bigs in the West, like, there's not many that are better than that. And they're one of those teams that has a lot of talent but has a really bad record. They have a weird situation with their pick. So then they just shut Jaren Jackson down. They try and put this whole thing like, oh, we were just limiting minutes and we knew about this. Like, they're trying to put the spin on it, but I'm sure they knew it was coming. So that was something. But yeah, I think you had to do something. It was too egregious. Then the Pacers got fined $100,000 for basically just your standard run of the mill resting for tanking. The year when the East is wide open and we like our team, this team is screwed barring a rebuild, which we know isn't happening. It doesn't look great, man. I mean, like, look, that's the thing. I think the only, and I've said this on a couple of recaps and videos since, but the only thing that's going to save the season right now is the franchise. It's not going to take I mean, obviously there's not a Jimmy type 2023, because even 2023 was a weird year, right? Like, it wasn't this great season. It wasn't a great regular season. It was a masterful postseason. And so, though a lot of the teams that were, I think that year, if I recall, actually I have the standings right here. I believe that season when they were in Play-in-ville, I believe that was a very closely contested season. Like, I think the difference between like 3 and the Heat was like 3 games. So you give them a little bit of a break on that one. The last year, yeah. Am I looking at that right? Those are the plans, the losses. No, I have my years mixed up. Actually, it was the next year when they got bounced. It was pretty close between them and 3. But yeah, they feel like they've squeezed a lot of juice out of all this stuff, and they need to do, something. I mean, just get something going with this. So, but I'm with you. It feels very, very mundane with what's been going on. And could they actually get a run going? Like, you would think they should. We're not asking them to go out and go on a run against like playoff teams. These are terrible teams. Like, they should have knocked every one of these down. And just to lose to the Jazz the way they did was just unbelievably depressing. It's not like you even would have patted the Heat on the back, but like, all right, you're taking care of your business. You're putting a run together. That's what you should do. This is the part where you should put a run together. Tobes, who are you protecting on the current roster with potential expansion looming? I don't know. So how does that work? You get to protect how many guys? Who would I would protect? I think the 3 I would protect as of right now would be Bam, Kalel, and Kasparis. I think those are the guys. Everybody else, I think it would be up for grabs, just simply because Jaime's contract, I don't know what he's going to want to get paid. Jovic obviously hasn't had a very good year. Hero, same thing, injuries, all that. So I think right now, like if I had to say like who are the guys you gotta keep in the full, and then I guess Pella too. You'd like to protect Pella, and it's an interesting one. Like who do you guys think right now? I guess just from age, do you like? Are you guys feeling Pella more? Because Pella's basically like Pella's just like going to be the ultimate role player, right? Like he's the ultimate warrior as far as putting his face in there and all types of grit and determination. He's never going to be the greatest shooter in the world, we think. A little bit older. Kasparov is 19 years old. There just feels like there's a lot of stuff untapped there because a lot of the flaws that we thought that he had, he's played a lot better. So yeah, C Dallas says no closer. Jaime and Bam playing hot potato the last 2 minutes. They definitely need that. That's why I would have liked. That's why I would be into the John Morant thing. That's why I would have been into that. Jason says he still loves his Heat basketball. Appreciate it. I don't know why I'm saying appreciate it. Sticking around though. I like that. Can I get a Goosey's galore? Like, how do you want that though? Do you want do you want Goosey's? What do you want? Goosey's galore! I got a lot of notes. Can you talk about how we have no one who can pass Khalil the ball? Not having good guards to set up Bam and Khalil is a huge deal. Definitely agree with you, Joshua. That's why I think Kasparov is appealing. Like I think even we saw in the finite minutes that we got, we're like, oh, this kid's different. This kid has something to him and has a skill set to him already at 19 that feels like he's got a priority of getting the ball to his teammates, setting people up. That's why I find him to be very, very intriguing. And I do think that he's one of these guys that the team will fall for quickly just because of that. Like he doesn't feel like he's a takeover guy. He feels like he's going to fit in, shoot his buckets. If he can take advantage of a matchup, he will. He's going to compete defensively, and he's going to try and get his bigs the basketball. Can't tank, nor can we beat a team trying to tank. We suck. Well, can't really argue with a lot of those points. When will Pat Riley retire? Nicholas asks. That is a good question. And genuinely, just not even being, I don't know if you're being like snarky about it or just genuine about it, but I think either way, I think Pat Riley's and the team should understand why people are frustrated and want some changing of the guard. But genuinely, like, what is Pat? Pat is 80. Is he 80? Pat Riley is 80 years old. He's going to turn 81 in March, I believe. And so, yeah, Pat's 81 in a little over a month. So when comes the time when he's done? And, I think he's getting a statue soon too, isn't he? When is Pat Riley's Lakers statue? Isn't that like Pat Riley Lakers statue? Let's see. What game are they doing that? They're doing that soon. February 22nd, Pat Riley's getting his Lakers statue. And yeah, I wonder that too. How much longer is he going to do that? And then we talked about this a little bit recently about like who's going to be that new voice of the Heat, right? Like I know Barry Jackson has talked a little bit about like, oh, do the Ayersons speak more? Is it going to be Spo? Is it going to be Andy? Who is that person that's going to be the voice of the Miami Heat? Because it's more Spo now anyway. Spo talks all the time, but Pat Riley is like, everybody looks forward to seeing what he has to say. And obviously his words carry a lot of weight. So I don't know. I don't really have, I thought there were things, Nicholas, last year where I was like, I thought last year could have been it because of like, he was getting Pat Riley court and it's 80, it's a round number and maybe he was ready. But I think this has happened, I think a couple of times in Pat's career where like, it never feels like it's the right time to go away. Cause it's like, am I really going to leave the year after Jimmy just did that to my organization and I have this public beef and he's leaking that I'm unhinged to the media, or people in his camp are leaking that I'm unhinged to the media. So I think it's a little bit like if the Heat would have won back with the Big Three, would he have walked away? I don't know. If the Heat would have gotten another one, if they would have won the title, would he have walked away, or is he just a lifer? Or him and Chris Riley just going to do this until he legitimately can't do this anymore? I don't know. I am of the belief, though, and maybe this makes me a sucker, but I am of the belief that he's done enough for this organization. And I don't like when everybody does the, oh, he just did all this because of Dwayne Wade. Like, first of all, Pat Riley set a lot of success for this organization pre Dwayne Wade, and changed the respectability of the franchise before that. And I think that matters. Is Dwayne Wade the most responsible for everything? Players always are. Tom Brady's more responsible than Bill Belichick is. They're the ones who can actually determine the outcome. They have the ball in their hands. But it doesn't mean Pat Riley had zero part in it. And so I am of the belief that he can go out on his terms whenever, outside of like some nefarious action. But if it's just basketball wise, Pat gets to go out the way Pat wants to go out. But how much longer do you want to do it at 81? I don't know. I don't know what the right answer to that is, because I think there's been plenty of times in the past people have thought about it, and when that's going. I'm trying to catch everybody up on these comments, so I apologize, everybody. There's a lot flying in. Ja would Plaxico Burress himself within a month in Dade County. Well, we don't know that, dude. I mean, maybe he's mature. It is interesting. There was I wish I knew the writer. There was somebody who said that, take this for what it is, because you don't know what reports are true and not anymore. Everything's kind of wacky out there. But I don't like to dismiss anything. I think it's fun to discuss everything, and then we can determine what we think of it. But there was a report that said Ja apparently thought that not getting anybody to want to trade for him was a wake-up call. That was a report. He saw it as a wake-up call that nobody wanted to trade for him. And so, does he come to the Heat and he's on his best behavior? I've also thought, like, the reports about him wanting to like refurbish his career and be part of Team USA and be one of the players for Team USA, that's one of those things for me. I was like, all right, that, because Spo's going to be the coach. So I feel like you're going to get him on his best behavior. Richie says, let Tobin, Billie Eilish a few more questions of Pat Riley to coax him into retirement. He always gets that question every year, and he always is like, one year he threatened Ira Winderman with a push-up off. He challenged him. Fit RN, Godfather will never retire. He'll be mummified in gold right next to Larry. His spirit will live on. Adam Simon is the next face of the Heat. I don't know if anybody's going to jump anybody. Like, I don't know if Adam's going to jump Adam, but is going to jump, Andy Ellisberg. But look, you got to give Adam Simon and that entire scouting department a ton of credit. I mean, they've done really well on that draft. Like it's very, very impressive with how they've gone. Are you watching, Tobin, are you planning on watching men's hockey Olympics to see the Cats? I have watched a lot, J4. I have watched a lot of Olympics already. I watched Sweden, Italy yesterday. I watched Finland during the show against lose to Slovakia. I've watched Czechia get killed by Canada today. I had Brad Marchand. I did a prop bet on his goal. It did not pay. But I watched a lot. And then I watched Team USA basically when it was 5-1. Then my son went to jiu-jitsu class. It was over. I didn't have to watch the rest of it. But it was cool. You got to see the Kachuk brothers score. It was Goosey's galore. So, Tobin, what do you think more? What do you think of the Heat running more pick and roll? I wasn't surprised. I'm not surprised that like everything's getting blended. They went more away from what happened. I think what we learned about the Noah LaRoche system is I just think that I think that it just was a burnout on these guys. I think it was a lot of I think it was I thought it was a smart idea. because I think the Heat were like, I don't know if we have anybody elite, right? Like they're still not like in their rating amongst the best. I know Spo likes to mention they're fourth in scoring and overall points per game, and they put up some big points. Like, don't get me wrong, but I just wonder about that pace. Like, really, if it's just a lot on players, and I think we've, not just Tyler, because Tyler came in hurt, but Norm being a little bit older, Wiggins has had some lower body stuff and hip stuff, and Davion's had some foot stuff. Bam had a toe injury. Like, I don't know if it correlates or not, but it felt like a little bit of everybody. And you just wonder, and same thing kind of happened with the Grizzlies last year, getting burnt out on that stuff. Let's see. Super chat. Appreciate you. Listen every day. Appreciate you. Bam, defensive anchor, limited offensive bag. Is he a glorified UD? Earned the max or more of a 30-40 million guy? That is from Nelson. Appreciate you, Nelson. I think that when you make that much money, the criticism is going to be what it is. It's warranted, especially next year when it gets to like superstar level money. That's 50, almost $60 million a year. Like, people are going to always look to you, and he can't have months where he, is scoring single digits. Like, that can't happen. He's never going to be the prettiest offensive player in the league. That's for sure. I do like, and I wonder, with Bam, what we saw yesterday, and I know it was against the Pelicans team, but I've always like, if he could tap into, Spo used the word rugged for him yesterday, right? If he could tap into the, the will of getting to the free throw line more. Like, the last two games he had gotten double digits. He hadn't gotten to the line double digit times since, I think, November before that. And I think if that's something that blends in with his game a little bit more, I do think it could take him to a different level, even not having a bag, which I don't disagree. I think Bam's got some moves, but I also think, like, you could see he can get turnover prone on some stuff too. Like, he's worked very hard on it, but I get it. Defensively, I think he's one of the best in the league still, but I do think that the league is getting bigger. Like, think about when Bam burst onto the scene. What was he? He was the Giannis stopper, right? Like, that was the thing that we were all like, oh, this guy can actually physically match up with Giannis. And like, the league's gotten so crazy with physicality. Like, Giannis is still Giannis, but like, there's Joker who's bigger than him. There's freaking Victor Wembanyama who's a half a foot taller than him. Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, like, all these guys. A lot of guys Jalen Duren came in. He's like, I want to be Bam Adebayo. Like, a lot of these guys looking like I like that prototype, but it's not as unique. And so I think that's why those guys wanted to. I think that's why Bam wants the Kalel thing to work out and why they want some investment on it. But I agree. I think, I don't know if he's glorified UD. I think he's more talented than Udonis Haslem, but I do think, like, Udonis has just, like, I mean, UD, especially pre-Big Three, in a day and age where, like, the mid-range jumper was a valued weapon, and just what a dog he was defensively, going at Dirk. UD's an ultimate competitive warrior champion, but I would say, yeah, Bam's got more talent. I mean, UD was undrafted. He willed everything of his NBA career. That's, so impressive. What is this? This is from Elder. If anyone misses basketball, Kai Jones and Cole Swider play for the Anadolu Effies in Turkey. It's a real fun watch. Two former Heat short stint plays. I actually saw Cole Swider was tweeting about something today, I think, about that. So appreciate you, Elder. Thank you for the heads up for anybody missing basketball. Shane, why is everybody in the NBA ignoring Pablo Torre's reporting? What do you think it is? Well, I don't think anybody, I don't know. I don't think people ignored the first story. I really like Pablo Torre's podcast. I think it's really, really good. It's different. I actually listened to the latest episode yesterday. The only thing I would say is I think when I listened to yesterday's, it felt like the big point of it was, oh, well, they've been working on this and kind of doing nefarious things for a little bit longer. They've been doing a ton of side deals with Kawhi. They'd been at him since 2017, even when he was back with the Spurs. So they've been eyeballing him for a while. So I just think like the new stuff, I don't think is garnering the attention because I think everybody's kind of just waiting for the hammer to come down. I do think people think a hammer's coming down because it's very weird what they did, trading Zubats and trading James Harden and all this while Kawhi Leonard, by the way, is playing incredible basketball. So I do think that that's also played a part. Like if the Clippers were more of a disaster, would it garner even more on the story? Don't know. I mean, I think that it will get brought to some forefront to this weekend just because, people will be out there covering it. But, will people really get the hammer at it? I don't know. I don't know. But I think for your question, I think that the initial story of it got a lot of coverage. I think the new stuff is cool. I just don't know like where people dive into the other stuff of it. You know what I mean? And I think it's like until there's some kind of direction from the league, then I think people are in a spot. And look, the league has not been good about this. Obviously, we've been crazy about. I'm waiting for 8 parts on the Terry Rozier covering up the gambling scandal. That's what I'm wondering. But I think that's what it is. But look, it's a good podcast. It's something different, and it's interesting stuff. Nutmeg. Do you think that Bam and Ware's age gap is too far to make it to the top? All right. So Ware's 21 and Bam is 28. So is that too far apart? So like, let's say Bam has 4 more prime years, 5 more prime years, right? Like absolute peak physical prime, right? Is that too far away from Khalil? I don't think so. I think it has to do with whether or not the franchise can really embrace them playing together. And I think that's the thing that was crazy is like, look, we could all look at this team and spoke and talk about, the talent of this team and getting our guys back. There's no reason that Khalil Ware shouldn't be playing under 25 minutes a game ever on this team, ever. And that wasn't going to happen with how much Bam plays. You have to play those people together. You have to. But I don't think they're too far apart. I think that they could succeed. I think that it's going to be interesting with whatever playoff series they're in this year, should they make it through the play-in, which I think they will, how Khalil handles the playoffs. I'm very curious about that. I think that's a big deal. I think that is a big deal. The guy says Brikola Jovic must go. All right. Chase says Pablo's awesome. Agreed. I like his podcast a lot. Tobes, what are your thoughts on Jay Lucas and his era with the Miami Hurricanes so far? G Slim. Been very impressed. I think especially with how late he got the team. And yeah, to go get a win this week against an 11 team, but basically has been, I mean, their only losses for the most part of the season were to really good teams. And they had a little bit of a slip up in the ACC with FSU and kind of a weird ending there. And, but he's been awesome, man. I think the thing that's cool, the storming of the court, they fined them $50,000. That was ridiculous. That you want about fines that are ridiculous. That was the most peaceful court storming I had ever seen in my life. It was just almost like a tour on the court. For Miami to get fined by that is absolutely crazy. Will asks, as a media member, who are your favorite reporters, personalities, and why? Do you want to do local on that, or do you want to do national, Will? Maybe you could give me a little specification on there if you're still in the chat. If not, I'll go back to it. When Jovic makes a mistake, minutes increase. Where makes a mistake, he plays in 3. I agree that there's been he's been very hard on him, and I think that I do think that Spo can be self-reflective on that stuff. I think he is trying to be conscious of it. So we'll see. But I think that we saw a couple of games ago before everybody got hurt, like, yeah, Jovic was out of the rotation basically until garbage time. Alex Fonseca says Kawhi would be great. I don't know if they're gonna. I mean, like if you think about like red flags and all that, I mean he's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's far fetched to think that they're ever going to be in a spot where they go after him. At what point does the Heat blow it up? Marlon asks. Will Norman be extended? Thank you for the live chat and God bless you. Well, thanks, man. I'm going to say Norm does get extended as long as he doesn't like keep getting hurt and shit the bed in the playoffs. If he doesn't, then I think he'll get extended shortly. I don't feel like it's like a 4-year deal coming away unless it's like, 4 years, 100, like 25 a year, something like that. Crazy money right now in the NBA. I'm acting like that's a bargain. But if they have another bad exit, like if they're swept and if it's like a Cleveland or Boston massacre like the last 2 years, I don't know how they can look at themselves in the mirror and think they can keep trudging along like that. And especially, and I don't know how the 2027 draft pans out, but for right now, with their pick being lottery protected next year and then unprotected in 28, then it's almost like you want to have a step back year so you can play these pick games. And who knows what the hell the rules will be by then. But we obviously know they're not going to blow it up. That's not going to happen. I don't think so. Let's see. Kat, did you see what Mike Bibby has to say about him and Spo? It's hard to keep up with all the podcasts. I saw he said something about Spo knows he made a mistake by not playing him because he had a good game 2, I think is what he said, which game 2, 11 finals, one of the worst ones of all time. I got to be honest with you. I remember Mike Bibby stinking to high heaven in that series. So I think that's a little bit of a problem with everybody. It's great everybody has a podcast, but it's also the problem with everybody having a podcast is like everybody has a podcast. Everybody needs to feed the content beast. Guilty of it, right? Like I'm reacting to plenty of things too that are wishy-washy, right? Or flimsy at best. But okay, Mike Bibby believes it, and what else? Like Jamal Mashburn doesn't, Jamal Mashburn and Pat Riley knows having Witherspoon in there was the problem. Like I don't. Okay, Mike Bibby's trying to get some heat off of him. Like the truth is, Spo probably should have gone with Chalmers, and that was a big thing that year. Is like, did the Heat have a real point guard for that team? You bring in a guy. I mean, like, do you think about the names they had in that 11 team with Big Z and Dampier and Mike Bibby and all these dudes, Stackhouse, all these washed old timers. And then they brought in Eddie Curry the next year. Like all these guys that we were hopeful, Greg Oden in 14. These guys you thought were going to be like something for the team. And like the guys who were meaningful was like Birdman on a 10-day back in the league. Joel Anthony, flawed as he was, like those are the guys who really matter. And then of course Ray Allen and Shane Battier and Mike Biller when his back would work. But yeah, I saw what he said. And look, Spo's I think admitted like he got out coached in 11 and it wasn't his best work, but I don't think it was. I think if anything it was play Mike Bibby less. Yeah, man. Playing Norm is going to kill it. What's the plan for the summer? I think a lot of it depends on where they go. I look, as far as like the Giannis thing goes, I don't want to harp on it too much. I just think, and I really mean it. I know I get like stuff on this on the show about it. I couldn't imagine going through that again. Because I ultimately think, truly, I think he's going to end up staying there. I think that's what I think is going to happen. Like if it didn't happen now after all the drama, it almost felt like Kobe asking out and then like, oh, never mind. I feel like the Bucks will pull something out of their ass that'll look like something to Giannis, and he'll keep sticking around, and he's going to sign a gazillion-dollar contract extension, and that's that. And he's going to get to do whatever he wants and be beloved. He'll never have to win a thing in Milwaukee because he's already won. Like he can just be there as long as he doesn't have to be passive aggressive all the time. Chase says Wemby's about to run the league, and he looks incredible. Miss Gio says Jovic got benched. Oh, dude, Jovic had that terrible. The thing that was terrible about Jovic had like a good little run there, and then he had the worst turnover you've ever seen in your life. Rough. Let me see. Okay. Willa said anybody, either people you like, who you vibe with, or just really like. Man, I gotta tell you. Well, if you're just talking about people in town, there's not many people I don't like. I am big fans of a lot of people's work down here. I think the more I've gotten years in radio, I think I've gotten to know. I love the guys around the Heat. I think they're all awesome. I think all of the people who do the media side of it, really fun to either get to work with. I've gotten to work with Jax. He's cool. Tommy Tig is like, he's like part mentor / part colleague. Like I really admire the way he goes about radio and professionalism. I think Anthony and Ira, I don't think people give those guys enough credit, quite frankly, because, in a lot of markets, there's a ton of papers. Like if you guys have ever gone to a Lakers press conference, they have like 7 writers covering the team. They all get like their questions, right? These dudes are like holding up like the weight of all the coverage and just doing I think just a really, really good job of it. And it's not easy, especially I think when things don't change that much, like you're still like trying to go through the stories and whatnot. Barry Jackson's obviously an animal. He's so freaking good at his job. I don't understand. Like people talk about AI. How can AI be better than Barry Jackson at reporting everything in South Florida? It's not possible. Local broadcast wise, like Eric Reed's a gem of a dude. I mean, like has been an unbelievably awesome person to meet. Crotty, I used to produce his broadcasts on the Heat when I was a producer on radio. Football wise, I've gotten to work with Omar. I think Omar's is just sensational as far as like the way he can think the team, especially the Dolphins, who have also like been the same. I don't know many of the other writers very well, except Adam Beasley, but he's not covering the team anymore. Adam was always awesome. But I think a lot of the guys, I think Feronis does a good job covering the team. Perk, we had this year on the pregame. He was cool. Hockey wise, David Dork. I'm so happy locally for like guys who I grew up with in the business, like David Dwork, who, we were like board ops / producers at $7.90 the ticket. And like this guy was covering hockey in like 19 when nobody gave a shit about the Panthers. He and Roy Bellamy really cared about the Panthers, like loved the Panthers, but also really cared and covered the Panthers. And then they got to see them turn into what they've turned into. And I think that's awesome. I think that kind of stuff is cool. So there's so many people, man. Like if anybody had specific questions about media people, I'll be happy to say, but yeah, you're not going to find me saying a bad word about many people. Like I try and I'm very thankful for a lot of the help that I've had along the way. And I think I used to be like more shock jocular as a producer, because as a producer, you're trying to like get your hosts riled up. And I, didn't really know the jobs that everybody did. And I think the more I've gone and covered events live, like you understand the job that these people do. And I'm very impressed with it. Are we signing anyone now that we can? Flavio asks. I don't know, man. I gotta imagine I think Myron's gonna get a standard. And if they cut Terry, they'll have another spot, and there should be some size to go after. I just don't know who that will be. I don't think it's going to be anybody else in the G League or anything like that. And I don't think it's going to be like Jameer, because I think they have enough guards as it is. How does the media say we have 4 tradable first round picks this summer with 27 and 28 locked from Rozier, 29 untradeable due to the Stebbin rule? Isn't it 26, 31? I think when they say that, I think they could I think what you could do is you could fix the protection and then you could lock it out. I was wondering this though, Nathan, because remember when Barry was reporting that the Heat had figured out a way to get a third pick? And I was wondering that too, because they had said in that same piece that, well, it wasn't from Wiggins. And so I was wondering, well, does that mean that they had another trade? Like, remember there was that buzz about Khalil, like not buzz, but there was like a little fodder from the Indiana people thinking like, oh, Khalil was going to make it come home. And they obviously traded a lot for Zubats. So I was wondering, like, well, were they going to trade Khalil for a pick or were they going to unlock a pick? The only thing with unlocking the Hornets pick for me is I have to think the Heat, however slim they think their hopes may be. I know they got this board of governors thing coming up in the spring. I have to think that before the Heat lift protections on anything, gotta think that the Miami Heat are going to do everything they can to get the pick back. And I think this is another thing I'm curious about. I'm curious if like they're just going to hold the Rozier contract on their books, almost like an anvil that was over them the entire year, so they can almost show like more, I guess the word would be like damages to the league, you know? So it's like almost like you had to like live in a, let's say like you were a tenant in a house that, like, I don't know, the plumbing didn't work and you wanted to sue your landlord. Like, the longer you're there, the more you went through suffering. But we'll see. I don't know. Seabass says you're delusional if you think we're getting that pick back. Look, you're probably right. I'm not, but you cannot. Here's what I would say, Seabass. You cannot, in good conscience, if you're the Heat, not try. Because I do think they have arguments. Like, people can mock the Heat and they can mock the front office all you want, and it being a bad, it was a bad trade. Okay, there's no doubt it was a bad trade. However, if something like that was hidden from Miami, okay, there's no fucking way Miami makes that trade, right? You're not trading for somebody who's like, oh yeah, he may have been involved in gambling some way, either him or somebody around him. Like, there's no way. And I think, from my standpoint, that they should explore every avenue they can, even if that's just getting compensatory pick. Because, and people can talk about the law all they want, I've been pretty steadfast on this. If Terry Rozier couldn't play basketball for the Miami Heat, whether he sucks or not, the trade is to have Terry Rozier, not Terry Rozier, be here and play good basketball. If he wasn't available to play basketball for the entire season, why should the Miami Heat have to give up the trade compensation? You know, I think there are arguments to be made. Are they going to hold up? I don't know, but I think there are arguments. I do think the Miami Heat have some elements of a case here to get something right. I do. Toes, we feel all the emotions of being a Heat fan through you. Curious if you've been catching UD and D Wade on Prime. What stood out to you? I think it's awesome that they're on television. First of all, I think they're very, very good. I think UD's really, really good. It's not that D Wade's not good, but I think UD is like very entertaining. He'll also can say like the wild thing that will get clipped and get everybody crazy, but he's not like Kendrick Perkins ridiculous on the things that he'll say. I'll tell you what I loved. I loved when the two of them talked about the Khalil Ware Spo thing. I thought that was riveting. And I know it's like that was a local thing, but to hear both their perspectives on it was so great. So I really, really enjoyed that personally. I And I think D Wade's really good at I think D Wade's good at doing games. I think he is, and I think UD is I think UD is really good at the studio stuff. I think Prime is my favorite new one that they've done from like them and NBC, and I think we've all seen everything inside. Inside's going to do inside stuff inside the NBA. So I think it's great having them. It's nice not to have 100 Cavaliers and Celtics on television. Base just says, love listening to your radio show while at work. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you for the kind words. That's very awesome of you. Indeed, league won't give the Heat pack because it's admitting they lied, which opens them up to litigation. Right, but I think the Heat would like the thing that you would be most in the thing that you would be most in play for, though, is like the Heat are the ones who are suffering, right? Like, who else is it? The gamblers, I guess. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you took care of the Heat, that's the thing that's going to keep you as safe as possible with getting everything right. I don't know, but I obviously have a bias in this. I want the Heat to get their pick back. I think it's the right thing to do. But they could trade Luka to Dallas. Yeah, exactly. They have make goods all the time. In hindsight, should we have traded for KD? I mean, I wanted KD when they had that. Like, I was in on them getting KD. And certainly with Tyler not being healthy, it just like changed what you thought the team would be. But if they would have done KD and Norm, and it just would have been like a barrage of shooting with Bam, and I guess you wouldn't have had Kalel, but I think that would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see what that team would have done. Would it have won the East? Hard to say. I don't know. I mean, Kevin Durant, like the Rockets have been a little bit wonky. They haven't been as on fire, but they also lost their point guard too. Guy says, I honestly don't know why they wouldn't redo Wade's statue. It's hideous. It's got angles, dude. I'm telling you. You go there, you don't notice it that much. I'm telling you. Just go there and look at it from angles. It doesn't look that bad. I'm telling you, dude. It doesn't. You just don't let the internet influence you. Trevor, what's going on, dude? Good to have you, buddy. USA kicked ass today. The Kachucks. That poor Latvian goalie. He was under siege, and they even spotted him 2 goals. Honest thoughts on Bam. You mentioned this being a legacy season for him in the modern NBA, as simply your best player's ceiling. Oh, I would agree with that. I think that I think the idea that Bam being your best player, I don't think that's good enough to win a championship. I think that's fair. I think you need, in a scoring league, your best player can't average 18 points. He can be a part of a winner. And I think that like we could do semantics on like who could he be the third best player? Because like just because Tyler averages 24, Norm averages 23, and Bam averages 18 doesn't mean that like he's not your best all-around player. But you need a guy, and I know he was better at this last year or 2 years ago, but the last couple of years in the clutch, last year that he were a disaster in the fourth quarter, and his numbers in the fourth are really bad this year, especially in clutch time. I think Barry wrote he was like 8. I think he's 8 for his last 28 or something like that. Those aren't good numbers. I think it is a legacy season for him, and just that, like, look, he is out here. We've already talked about the contract. He is looked upon as like the standard bearer for the team. But D Wade talked about this when he was here, right? And I thought D Wade was like the most honest on all of this than everybody else in the organization, who's kind of like, they don't like to say this, but D Wade just flatly said like this isn't good enough. And I asked him about, hey, do you hope this can inspire what your team is? What and he's like, yeah, it better inspire them. This should inspire them. Because like what this record is, when he's like, Shaq's like, I don't even know what their record is. He's like, it's not good enough. You can tell he's like dead ass, like not happy about it. He said this last year. He wasn't happy that like the Celtics have passed him. Like he's got that type of passion for those things at. And so Bam, look, the way that they build the roster is not his fault, but he's going to bear responsibility because he's going to take a big chunk of the cap. And so, like I said, you can't have a dud in the playoffs. You can't have months you go where you're not putting the ball in from 4 feet away. But the things I appreciate about him are like, dude, he's like this guy after the games. Like, if I could just explain, like the dude is, I mean, this guy is beat up, and he goes out there, he plays his ass off after every game. And I just appreciate that about like in a day and age where everybody's like getting out for a hangnail, they're missing games. The dude, like that Jazz game where they were embarrassed, and it was embarrassing, and he was part of the loss because he couldn't hit a damn free throw. But I do know like he was dealing with the hip going into it, and you know, he got his hand smacked up. So they got to find something. I think 2 things. I think he's trying to also lean on Spo. Like, we got to make the Khalil Ware thing work. I think I don't have information on this. I just have logic and what he's said in the past about it. I think, and Spo has said like they want this. We want this to work out. They want this to work out. I think Bam wants it to work out. I think he wants some size next to him, but they need a premier scorer. Not nice guys. Like Norm and Tyler are nice scorers. Those guys are buckets, but like, are they superstars? No. So I think those are important things. But there's a lot more to like about it than not like. Back to Terry. Would he be playing if the NBA allowed? So minimum the NBA should pay him. Again, I bet Spo would play him. So you're saying like in a world where I'm confused. You're saying if Terry was back, would he be playing if allowed? Okay, so like with Spo, I don't think so, dude. Not on this team. Because remember, he wasn't ineligible going into the season. He got taken away at a preseason game. He got taken away in handcuffs in Orlando, and he wasn't playing. So no, I don't think he would be playing unless like everybody got hurt. Do you prefer a Whopper or a Big Mac? Whopper. Not even a question. Not even a question, dude. Tobes haven't been able. Oh, Dolphin Kane, what's up, dude? Miss you, buddy. Thank you for the beer money. Haven't been able to watch you and Leroy live because of work, but my 3-year dream has come true. McFraud is gone. How about McFraud? And not only McFraud is gone, but he's with Adam Gase. Crazy, dude. That is insane. That is insane. Any other sports you want to report on with your channel? Miami is a great skateboarding scene. Would love Tobin to review the streets. You know what's actually funny, Shane, is my son has started. He loves the Tony Hawk video game. Like my son he loves video games. He loves jiu-jitsu. He loves video games and comic books. Like those are his things. But he's like, I kind of want to skateboard. He likes to watch sports. He's not super into playing sports. He loves jiu-jitsu. He's a maniac. Everything else is like not his favorite cup of tea. I don't think so. I maybe if something like crazy happened, I would go interview somebody on the local scene, or go to some wild event. I would be boots on the ground for that. I would check that out. But my favorite things to cover on the channel are the Heat, the Dolphins, some crazy Panthers wins. You know, the Panthers. We're always talking Panthers on the local scene of things. The Panthers are awesome about getting us people on the show. I got to get Bob on this year. I got to get my annual Bob chat in, and the fight scene. Like that's my favorite thing. I love talking to the local fighters here. Your number one Aussie fan is here. What do you think about Casper Shaka Jones? What do you think his ceiling could be? Man, it's a great question, Yasip. I think from my standpoint, he I see the Goron elements there. I don't see quite like the excellence at driving. The funny thing is he's almost got, remember when Goron came to the Heat, like he was an inside scorer. That's what he came to be. And then he got good at shooting or came lethal at shooting. And Casper's has kind of gone the opposite. Like he's like, seems like he's off to a pretty excellent start shooting. And now we need to get the inside part of it. But he's got some elements of Gogi to him. Not to do Euro, but like, you know, Goron's been there tutoring him and whatnot in the preseason. So I think it's cool. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from him for sure. Who do you think will be our next whale? Spida, in my opinion. I think Spida is definitely on the table. I think Spida's on the table if, let me take that back. I don't want to say Spida's definitely on the table. Spida will be on the table if they flame out and it goes bad. If it goes bad for them, then it's possible. I don't know if you guys considered Ja. I mean, I think if the Ja thing gets like, could they circle back on the Ja thing? Possibly. Do you guys consider Zion a whale anymore? No jokes. Don't know. Macman says, can we stop hunting old whales? Yeah, he is 30. That's fair. Has Tommy seen Tua Jiu-Jitsu? He has not. Somebody said Ant's the dream. Like if we all could be on, like that's the guy. We're all like, oh, man, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. But it feels like fantasy. Feel like I have a better chance of a unicorn riding in here, doing the Harlem Shake or something like that. And there are your whale jokes. Everybody in the chat, you know who you are. He says I'd take Ja and Zion. Dude, just like the whole 2019 draft with Tyler there. Mr. Gio, front office and coaching staff are on different pages. Front office, not worried about winning. They just want their chairs filled. I think they do. I do think that there's been times I think that there's been like on a different page, but I do think that, look, I think that they tried to go and make the Giannis thing happen. But the unfortunate thing is the being in the place they are with the Terry Rozier trade put them in a rough spot, man. Leroy says at least the Heat got 3 chips in recent memory. The Dolphins got to tighten up. Did you guys see? I don't know how much you guys are watching Dolphin stuff right now, because it's been. I got to be honest with you. It's been. I love Joe Rose. Like, the dude is a legend. The way that Joe Rose and Kim Bokamper can still just like they'll come in every day and like for sport they love ripping Tua. Like it's like they're like I'll do it right now, and they love it. And Joe will literally do that all day, and I respect that about him. But have you guys found it like hard to even like get geeked up for this Dolphin season, just because it feels like until they do the Tua Band-Aid, it's like we don't even know. And then it's like, oh, well, we're gonna go get Malik Willis. And I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. But like, I don't know if it gets like, maybe he'll be awesome. I think I know, Chris Sims said he was gonna be a superstar. I don't know if that is like the most ringing endorsement that I want, although he did make some points on Tua. Can still go to hell though. But I don't know. I watched these two guys talk today, and like this Sully's sitting there, and he's like, we have a decision on Tua, but he's gonna know first. And just like, all right, so you have, because the fans were there, but the media wasn't allowed. And it's like, we have a plan. We have a plan. I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, we'll see. The thing I hope for is that the division's not great. That Josh Allen is like gonna get on the other side of it because he's been just running to the ground. That the Patriots were a flash in the pan, and maybe the Dolphins can catch lightning that way. But I don't know. I'm fine. I'm kind of excited about the draft, and I think that's strange. This is the most excited I've been about the draft. I loved the college. The Canes like had me so in on college football this year. That playoff run was so sick, and now I'm like, I kind of want to see where all the Canes go. And I've been like listening to the draft like podcasts. I'm like, who am I? I'm like, I never did this. So I'm like almost more excited for that than I am even whatever their plan is. Like, I hope that maybe a miracle can happen and they can get like Ruben Bain at 11, even though I know that's never going to happen. Anyway, Trevor says, I'm treating the Dolphins like the 2015 Eagles. What could possibly go wrong? And Kim Bokamper in the post game is my favorite. Oh yeah. He has no time for the nonsense. Kim Bokamper is like, he's not here for the bullshit. That's not what Kim Bokamper is here for, dude. What are your thoughts on moving up in the draft to get a QB1? I'm a little like everybody, Nestor. Like, I'm a little skeptical. I saw Trinidad Chambliss is not coming out this year. He just got a judge injunction that's going to let him, go back another year. So I don't love this class that much. I think that from my perspective, try and get as flush with that near top 10 pick as you can to add talent. And then if the QB1 pops up somewhere next year, then okay, so be it. Like, I could take a year of the Dolphins stinking up the joint if I feel like they're developing some talent. Especially, I don't feel like I think the defense needs like either a demon corner, which probably should be like one of the last pieces, and like a true monster pass rusher. And I think they could be pretty friggin' awesome. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know if there's a QB to go get. Should we rethink the front office approach? Imagine having traded for Drew Porzingis when we had Jimmy. The whales are harder to attract now. Oh yeah, I think that. I think that it's totally fair that the Heat in the Jimmy years could have done more complementary pieces. Especially after PJ was gone, right? Like, because PJ and the Kyle Lowry and the PJ were awesome the first year, and Kyle still had a little in the tank the second year. And so yeah, they overpaid for one, right? But yeah, I think if it would have been just like a secondarily good move with Jimmy and Bam, I think it would have been enough for sure. Instead of the whale, Jimmy was their whale. I think Jimmy was good enough to be accounted for as a whale. And they can even say the first year in the finals. I will chalk that up to maybe some good luck because the bubble, they didn't have to travel. They had an older Goran Dragic whose foot eventually exploded on him, but also his foot exploded on him. So like, it's hard to look at that year and he was your leading scorer in the playoffs up to that point and be like, well, that's just really unfortunate to overcome. The year they make it, Tyler is the broken hand, but also were they better without him? I can't say that they weren't. I mean, Caleb Martin kind of ran out of his juice. Like, they needed one more punch. The unfortunate thing is they kind of tried to do that when the Dame thing went to smithereens, and the move was Terry, and it was the worst. It was just the worst trade ever. Oh, it was the worst. Crazy. Oh, Miami's so anti-tanking. They refuse to allow a team playing to tank. Yeah, it's true. That is a fair point. They were done with that nonsense. It's crazy to me, man. Let's see. Get some final ones in here. Then I'm going to call it a night, everybody. I've been enjoying the live, though. I'm going to try and make this a regular thing for everybody. Let's see. If your son likes Tony Hawk, next time take him to the game. If your son likes Tony Hawk, next time you take him to the game, please show him the big rail in front of the stadium. Let him know that's where Kyle Walker grinded it. Unbelievable. Okay. I'm sure is that a famous skateboarder? I don't know who that is. I will look that up, sir. I will look that up, Shane, and check that out. We are going to try and get to a Heat game. It was funny. I actually got offered to go to the Heat game to take him, and they're like, Jazz? And I'm like, not the Jazz. And it wasn't even like because the Jazz suck. I have gone as a fan. I have gone to Jazz games, and I've gone now. These are two games that, not as a media member, as a fan. I went to the Paul Millsap game. My wife and I got tickets from the radio station. We sat in the upper deck. Mind you, it was Big Three era, so like those were like gold. The Heat were kicking ass. Third quarter, and I was like, I'm tired. Can we go home? And we lived in Del Rey at the time. So that's a hike. I was like, all right, we can go. Yeah, they were smoking them. And and I'm just listening to Mike Inglis. And listen, for those who don't remember Mike Inglis, listening to the Heat blow a lead with Mike Inglis on the radio call, you might as well feel like you're drinking bleach. Like he is miserable when that happens. I mean, it's what made him one of the best. And Paul Millsap just went off on the Heat, and the Heat lost to the Jazz. And man, I mean, like that was crazy. And then I went last year, the day Jimmy got suspended, day after Jimmy got suspended, and they lost by 35 to the Utah Jazz. So when somebody offered me tickets, they're like, Jazz? I'm like, no. And literally, I would rather them play a scrimmage against give me tickets to them scrimmaging the Sioux Falls Skyforce. I would prefer that over you, over going to them facing the Utah Jazz. And what do you know? My instincts were right because they couldn't beat a team trying to lose. I was so like, I'm like, no, any other team but them, please. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's very nice of you. But any other team, please. Please. Do the right thing. Miami plays the game the right way. Fix it, dude. Yeah, dude, that's all I'm saying with that. So fix it. Doing out here, you're trying to make a European league. Ridiculous. Should Miami test the buyout market or ride out the season? I just don't know what's going to be out. You know, it's size that they need. Like they just need a foul trouble big. That's what they need, and I just don't know if that's out there for them right now. I'd be geeked about the Finns. Just play with some balls. That 100%, dude. And that was the thing. Like somebody asked, they asked Halfley today. I saw there was a clip on Twitter, and they're like, "What do you?" They asked him about the cold weather. I guess they were taking fan questions, and he goes, "It's a mindset." I'm just like, "Oh boy, here we go, Mr. Mindset here. That's what's gonna fix it. The mindset." Listen, Mike McDaniel tried that too. He wore the "I wish it was colder" shirts. Mindset. You crazy? Al Macco says they should have sold high on Hero. He should have sold high on undrafted guys like Caleb, Lowry, and Tucker. Well, they couldn't sell high on Tucker. I mean, Tucker was a one and doneer. Lowry's already old, Almaco. Like that, they had to overpay to get Lowry here. And Caleb, I agree. Like, but also like he was like the Eastern Conference Final, and or could have been the MVP. He was that damn good. Ja would only be about Astron. I thought that would be Zion. I thought Ja's whole thing is it was just guns. Why does every star put Miami on their list but refuse to go in free agency? I mean, the Heat haven't had, like, when's the last time the Heat had genuine? I mean, the last time they had cap space to bring somebody, even no, actually, I think about it, the Kyle thing that was a sign and trade too. I think they had cap space, but they ended up doing it to. No, they did a sign trade. I don't even know, like, when's the last time the Heat signed a big money free agent? You guys remember when Pat was like at his ultimate petty with LeBron, and you know, like the big three, it's a free agent move, but like they ended up being sign in trades, and they ended up giving like a crazy amount of picks for Bosch and they weren't like highly contested picks, but Pat, I remember Pat joking. He was almost going back to the Rozier thing. You remember him joking, like, if they opt out, like, shouldn't we get those picks back? And but anyway, so LeBron leaves, and then they sign Luol Deng. And he was like, he put like in the statement, like, Luol Deng is one of the biggest free agent signings in franchise history. You know, just to like a little caveat cowboy from The Godfather. It's like, I guess technically you're not wrong. But anyway, I appreciate everybody's talking about, man, we've already got an hour and 20. Appreciate everybody. Did I miss anybody in Super Chat? More live streams, Dolphin Kane. I appreciate you, buddy. I just want to make sure I got everybody who did Super Chat. I did not miss anybody. But I think I got everybody. I think I did. I appreciate everybody out there. Dun, dun, dun. Honest thoughts on it. Yes, I hit that one. Toes. Yep. All right. I think I got everybody. I I think I got everybody. Anybody else there in the end from you guys? Mario, what's up, bro? I appreciate you, buddy. I didn't see your question, man. I apologize. If you want to hit it again real quick, I'll get to it. Doesn't have to be a super if you don't want to. Just hit me with it. Jay, appreciate you, buddy. He says the Heat front office has been trying to gaslight for a while. That's true. No, they have. They're great at it, by the way. Sky says Pat Riley is just as washed of a bum for not giving Jimmy any help. Yeah. I don't want to say that he's washed, but he does need to get Jimmy some help. They did need to get Jimmy some help, and they didn't. Like the Dame thing will be the thing that goes down, and they can say, well, he tore his Achilles. It's like, oh, okay, cool, great. That's what we're gonna do. He tore his Achilles in Milwaukee. You could have predicted that. Okay, sure. Awesome take, guys. Anyway, appreciate everybody for checking us out. Thank you everybody for super chatting. Thank you all to regular chatting. You guys were awesome. Everybody was awesome. Had a blast with you guys, and have a great night ahead.